Welcome to INCRadio, South Central States. I'm your host for today, Nathan Russell, and I'm joined by my co-host here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Arnie.
And we are reporting live from Dallas, Texas today. It is beautiful weather out
It
today.
is. But we're actually in Garland.
Oh, yeah,
We're in the city of Garland.
excuse me.
But yes, and near the city of Dallas.
The DFW. It's
Sure.
part of DFW. They don't say DFWG.
No, they don't.
Fun fact, there's like 8 or 9 cities in between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Yes. Yeah, there's cities just like for me to go home, I live in Fort Worth. I got to go pass by like two or three different cities, and then I'm back in Fort Worth, which is really weird. So I work in Fort Worth, go through different cities, and then get home to Fort Worth,
Yeah.
which is like an hour away.
I think they call them tax fingers, but we won't
Yeah.
we won't dive into that discussion because today we are going to talk about the top 5 tips for new cooks.
Okay.
And we got this idea from last week. So if you didn't catch last week's episode, we were making a sushi bundt cake, and within that discussion, we were talking about the skills necessary in order to put it together. And oftentimes, um, things require like very elaborate setups. You might have to have multiple things going, but we wanted to go ahead and have a show where we can give our basic tips that we've learned
Okay.
cooking over the years. Maybe we won't mention how many years that is. I started about 20 years ago. I got a job in food service. That's where I learned some of the basics. But very valuable topic, especially
Yes.
nowadays.
So for us, for me, I started cooking. I think when I was in middle school, because when my parents raised us, they're like, "Oh, we're going to teach you to cook," and we had to cook the family meals every night
Right.
during the weekday. So yeah, I learned at a very early age.
Yeah, me too. So like it started out like real basic. Like okay, this is how you cook eggs. Like heat this up. You're gonna want some oil, and then you throw your eggs in.
Hmm.
And for the most part, with a lot of cooking, it's like when it looks like it's food that you can eat, it's done. It's ready to eat.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes you just boil water, throw in some noodles, and you got soup.
Or microwave. I know as a kid learned how to microwave food. You just follow the directions. So, but we're gonna go a little bit beyond
Okay.
just your microwaving skills and get into more of like cooking fresh ingredients. Because have you checked fast food prices
You
lately?
know, I gotta say, yes, I have. I know it's gone up, but I can't complain about Texas because every time I visit California, I'm like, how is that expensive? When in Texas, it costs this much. So I think even with location, it depends on where you're at.
Right.
Where, yeah, it's just crazy.
And I'm always like buying meat from the grocery store.
Hmm.
And I noticed that the price of meat in Texas has stayed very stable.
Yes.
Most everything has gone up like twice as much.
Hmm.
And I haven't really seen the prices budge for
Yeah,
Texas meat.
and not only that, but just other items too. Compared to other states, I've seen there's been like an inflation
Right.
because every time I go groceries with my sisters and I'll look at it and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna get it in Texas.
Right,
You
right.
know.
So just a valuable skill in being able to save money because everything is getting expensive. But we're going to start actually with our question of the day, which I dropped into the chat, and that is, what is your favorite dish to cook? What is your favorite dish to cook?
Okay, so me, it depends on the season. I don't just have one dish. So if it's in the winter, usually it's something I like to bake. If it's in the summer, I don't like to cook as much because it gets too hot. And then my ultimate favorite that I like to do is seafood linguine from scratch.
Oh, okay.
So that one is one of my favorites. And every time we have family parties, they're like, "You guys are bringing seafood linguine, right?" That's like a go-to that I do. But for summer, I like to be creative when it comes to salads. It's just not like plain salad. I try to think of the fruit that's in season
Hmm.
and then include that. So sometimes I'll include strawberries, mangoes, and then the dressing would, of course, be like some kind of raspberry vinaigrette to go with the fruits. And but my ultimate go-to is not an actual food, but it's a drink. I love making watermelon lemonade. So I freeze the watermelons and then have lemonade, and then you put it in a blender, and then you throw in some mint. And
Hmm.
that was very refreshing on a very hot day.
What I like doing in the summer for like drinks is I like making my own sodas. So
Mm,
just buying like plain sparkling water and then buying either like flavor packets, you can get at the store, and then
Mhm.
just mixing the soda. I've actually experimented with like putting apple cider vinegar in soda, but only a little bit. You don't want it to taste like vinegar.
Wait, so do you have one of those soda machines you can have at home that actually?
I don't. It's
Oh, you
it's just
don't?
okay. So the trick is you get a little bit of water,
Okay.
just enough to dissolve whatever flavor packet you're
Mhm.
using, if you're using a flavor packet, and then you just pour the soda water
Oh,
into it,
wow.
the mixed soda.
Now, does it taste like real soda?
Yeah, it actually does taste good. I mean, I've been doing it year after year, so it can't be that bad. If
Okay.
it was bad, I would have stopped a long time ago with that.
Now, do you give this to your son?
No, my
Oh,
son, my son only drinks like water and milk,
because I was gonna say, if he likes it, then it must be really good, right?
and my wife doesn't like soda, so
Oh,
maybe it was because of my soda. I don't know.
okay.
Maybe I should take a hint. But as far as my favorite dish to cook,
Mhm.
egg dishes.
Okay, why egg dishes?
Just because it could be very quick and easy to do. There's so many things you can do it. You can scramble it, you can fry it. But yeah, egg dishes. That's my favorite thing to cook.
Yeah, and I guess if you make an omelet, you can just add all the different types of ingredients you like.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we could probably do a show on just cooking omelets. Well, because like it's so easy to mess up. You could burn it. You know. The advantage though to cooking eggs is if you mess up, you can just have scrambled eggs.
Okay. Well, if we do an egg show, you're eating everything because I don't eat eggs.
You don't eat eggs.
I
Are you
don't.
allergic or?
I'm not allergic. It's something happened during elementary when I was younger. I got sick, and I guess with my grandma, we had a pigeon coop, and she took one of the eggs from the pigeon coop, and it had like kind of a live chick, like the balut does. And
Oh.
I'm like, I am not eating that. And she forced me to eat it because it was supposed to help me get better. And so ever since then, I'm like, I don't want eggs anymore because it's got
Yeah.
that bird in there.
Probably shouldn't tell you about egg coffee then.
No,
Probably be pretty revolting to you. But
no.
we're going to go ahead and run through our list. Now, if you're in the live chat, drop your tips too. I really like to learn from our live audience. I love hearing from everybody out there. And we're just going to kind of go through it. We have top 5 tips. Did you order yours or is it just kind of?
No, mine are just random tips.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But we're going to give our 5 one by one and we'll discuss them.
Okay.
And I guess you can start.
So my first thing is don't be afraid to try new things.
Absolutely.
If you're used to eating certain types of food, let's say you're used to just Japanese food or
Mhm.
Chinese food or Filipino food, try and do research. See what everyone else is eating and just try a different menu. You can always, they do normally have recipes and then they also have videos that you can watch and just try it because that might be something you realize, oh, it's pretty good. And so I always say try new things and not just keep cooking the same thing that you cook over and over again. And then if you don't like it, you take it out.
Right.
Yeah. So what I do when I try new things, I pull up the recipe usually when I search it, and then I have a recipe book. If I like it, I'm putting it on a 3x5 card and sticking in that recipe book. If I don't like it, it goes in the trash.
Usually, when I look at recipes, I just look at like what ingredients are going into it, and then I try to make it from there. Very much like cook by instinct.
When I first start, I actually do follow the recipe just so that I can see, and then I think about the taste.
Yeah.
If one is overpowering, then the next time I cook it, then I won't do it as much. And so sometimes I'll find one recipe and I'll cook it like 3 or 4 times until I get the flavor that I like.
There's definitely a risk aspect
Mm-hmm.
to it
Mm-hmm.
when you explore different foods. But one thing I learned as a parent, when you said try new things, is that the majority of the food out there, can't speak for all of it, but the majority of the food out there is designed to be eaten. So when they're putting things together, maybe it looks exotic or you're not sure, but it's like, no, this was actually meant to be eaten. So don't be too intimidated by that. That by the looks, or if you're not familiar what it is, or even ingredients. Like I remember coming across like a jellyfish salad. I was like, you can eat jellyfish? I was like, well, they wouldn't put it on the menu if you couldn't eat it. So I ate it. But I have heard of some foods that get pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that.
I'm not, I don't think I'm that daring. When I say don't be afraid to try new things, means more of recipes and not really the weird food.
It's like delicacies.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I won't even eat balut, which is a Filipino delicacy. I won't even eat that.
I've had that.
No.
That tastes like, okay, if I were to, okay, if you don't know what balut is, for those out there, it is it's a duck egg, right?
Yeah.
The duck egg, and there's a partially developed duck
Yeah.
in it. It's a Filipino
No.
delicacy.
Yes.
You know, when I hear delicacy, I'm like, these sound like dares that went
Uh-huh.
too far. Like, I dare you to eat that.
But the thing is, you have the feathers in there. You've got the beak.
Yes. You don't notice that much. I'll say that. It is very bland though.
Yeah, people put salt on it all the time.
Yeah.
Always. But
It tastes like very bland chicken soup.
yeah, no.
So you're not missing much, I
No.
would say.
See, but I did try escargots,
That I will not try.
which are snails.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
So I really didn't want to, but when we were kids, we went on vacation, and my dad said, "Hey, whoever tries escargots, I'll give you $5." And that was like
$5.
Back then, $5 was a lot.
You're right.
Back then,
You're right.
$5 was a lot, especially for a kid who didn't have a job. And so I tried one. I mean, it wasn't bad. It kind of tastes like scampi because it's like garlicky and buttery.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that bad. And then so I had taken my nephew on vacation, and he was 6 years old. And I did the same thing. I go, Mason, try escargots, $5. And he was looking at me, and I'm like, you don't have to, but he loves, he likes to buy toys. So he tried it, and he goes, this is really good, Auntie. And he actually ate the whole tray that had like 6 escargots, which I was surprised. And then he ordered it again the next time we had it. But
I see a food challenge in the future for our studio.
it's not bad. Seriously, it tastes like butter and garlic. As long as you get it out of your head that you're eating a snail, I don't think it's bad. I think a lot of it is psychology,
That'd be very difficult for me. I assume you can't just like go to the pet store and go to the fish tank section.
No, I mean, I don't think that's even something I would cook.
It's a specific snail,
yes.
I'm guessing.
And so it's something that I would get like at a restaurant, but I don't think that would be something I would cook.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me see. What do I have on my list? Okay. What I have on my list is you can always add salt later. All right. You're laughing because I know you've experienced this, but adding salt to a dish while you're cooking it, don't add too much, because I've definitely done that and had really, really salty meals. Just leave it as plain as possible, and you don't even get any benefits from cooking with the salt necessarily.
But my question is this: so let's say you did put too much salt. Is there a way to go back and is there a way to fix it? Yeah, is there a way to fix it? Because I know there's certain things like if asked for a certain ingredient and if you don't have it, you can always substitute. But is there a way to fix it if you put too much salt?
If it wasn't too salty, I could maybe see that you could add like sugar or something to balance it out. It would be very flavorful.
Okay.
Be very sweet. I don't know. Do you know? No,
you're
asking me.
Yeah, no, because like when I make a certain dish, like let's say adobo, which is vinegar based and vinegar and soy sauce. So when you taste it, and if it's like too salty, then you would just add more vinegar, right?
Vinegar.
Yeah, you do vinegar.
Oh yeah, because the soy sauce is
is the salty. And then if it's too sour, then you just add a little bit more soy sauce. So I didn't know if you actually just put too much salt, if there's a way to not make it so salty.
My adobo was very sour. It was like salt and vinegar adobo. That's what it tasted like.
So that means you put too much vinegar.
And I've cooked it 3 times, and all 3 of them were terrible.
Oh really?
Yes, no. Not good. And actually, we might have a show in the future about cooking adobo. So maybe I'll finally learn.
I'll show you the tricks.
Yes, I need to learn the tricks. But yeah, don't over salt it, because like you can't even like it's not like sugar where if you put it into the food and you cook it with it, you can get some caramelization. You know, that doesn't happen with salt at all. So just make it bland at first, and then add the salt later, and you'll be fine. Because I've ruined entire pots of food.
See, I don't cook too much because I mean, like a lot. I cook just for myself. So if I mess it up, it's okay. I could start over and do it again.
Oh, I do too. I cook for myself, but I eat the same thing for like 2 days straight.
No, I can't do that.
All right. So next on your list, what do you got?
My next one is be creative. Okay. Sometimes it tells you, like, let's say you're just making a salad, and it says go ahead and put lettuce, cucumber, carrots, and that's probably it, right? So I try to find other ingredients that I think would work well with a salad. So I'll throw in strawberries, those mandarin oranges. Sometimes I love to throw in mango in there. And so I just try to think of the things that I like and add it to the salad. So then now it's just not lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumber.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think about that too when I make dishes. I like deconstruct in my head. Like, if I'm thinking of like a pasta dish,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I'm like, okay, pasta, that's a carb.
Mm-hmm.
Tomato sauce, it's, I think about what's in the tomato sauce is tomatoes. The meat portion, I think about that too. And I think, can I substitute these things and come up with like a different type of food?
Mm-hmm.
So like if your base is like a carb, so instead of noodles, I think of other carbs like rice and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had pasta rice. I've never done that, but that's just an example.
Yeah.
Thinking of how to substitute things out. I'm glad that you brought up fruit though in salads, because a lot of people that I bring that up to, they're like, "Why would you put fruit in a salad?"
Mm-hmm.
But it really adds a
It
flavor
does.
to it.
And it makes it colorful too. So you're
Yes.
not just stuck with your greens,
Now,
It
what kind
just
of fruit do you like to put in your salad?
so strawberry is my go-to all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And if I do the strawberry, sometimes I'll add like candied walnuts also or sliced almonds. The other thing I use is the mandarin oranges. And you can just get the ones in the can,
Right.
just drain it, and I'll do that. And I have been known to use like, of course, avocado and then mango. Those are the main ones I've used.
I have not done mango. I've done lots of berries. It's like berries can have like a tart flavor
Mm-hmm.
to it, so that usually helps really accent the salad out.
Mm-hmm.
I've done blueberries before. Blueberries are good.
Yeah.
Typically though with fruit, I don't use a ranch dressing. I use a
No,
vinaigrette.
yeah, you have to use a vinaigrette.
Yeah,
And I use like the raspberry vinaigrette. So
Mhm.
it's more of fruity also. And then I like to throw in some cheeses. Like feta cheese is really good on a salad.
Now, do you make your own vinaigrette?
If it's the plain vinaigrette, I can.
Yeah.
But if it's something with a flavor, then no, I just get store bought.
See, I've done like typically there's like olive oil and apple cider vinegar.
Mm-hmm. Or you can
Works
use
pretty well.
balsamic vinegar also.
Yeah, and what else? An oil, and you know how like you get like pepperoncini,
Mm-hmm.
the pickled vegetables. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
pour some of that as the vinegar portion because it's already got vinegar in it.
Yeah.
I've done that before. That works really well. But let's actually check our comments real quick before we get to my next one. Hopefully, I can keep track of everything. But all right, so we have our sister Melanie, my wife, excited for this week's topic, and she says her favorite dish to cook is chicken Alfredo. And we are also greeted by Mark Lene Lambino, and he gave us a little heart flag there. You see that?
I see that. I wonder where he's from.
You know him?
No, I don't.
Oh, I thought you knew him.
No, because usually they'll put in where they're from, right?
Right.
And then that way
Yeah,
we'll.
tell us where you're from, and be sure to tell us your any cooking tips that you may have.
Okay, so it may get you in trouble, but is her chicken Alfredo good?
Well, for one, I try to avoid carbs, but
Okay.
it is good. You can't really mess up chicken Alfredo.
That's true.
Yeah, just
I
just
mean,
keep. What is chicken Alfredo? It's just noodles, cheese, and chicken, right?
or you could just go get the store bought
Yeah.
mix it.
But no, yeah, me and my wife, we do have different diets though, because she can eat whatever she wants. I'm not kidding anyway.
Yeah, I see that.
I am the opposite. Everything I eat, my body's very efficient at storing food. So. But
Okay.
we'll go ahead and go to next on my list.
What's next on your list?
Be patient.
Why do you have to be patient?
Especially when it comes to preheating.
Okay.
Okay, I was super guilty of this for the longest time. I was like, preheat oven? Nah, you can preheat with the food
You
in
would
it.
just stick it. Oh no. Oh no.
Now, why wouldn't you?
Because the temperature is not ready yet. And so let's say it tells you to cook it.
Eventually, it'll get ready, right?
But it tells you to cook it for 30 minutes. If you stick it in there before it's even, let's say 350 degrees, then it's not cooking thoroughly because for the first 10 minutes, it wasn't at 350.
Yeah, but eventually it would be. And then it would start the clock then.
I don't know. I don't know.
The reason why I brought that up is because I cook more on the stove. And my favorite food to cook is eggs. And I know with eggs, if that pan isn't hot enough, those eggs are sticking.
Especially if you do like the sunny side up.
Yes.
Yeah. For scramble, it doesn't matter because you're just going to mix it anyways.
So that was actually a lesson that I learned like 2 months ago.
And you know what they said? If you do like the sunny side up or the over easy, once you put your oil in and it gets hot, sprinkle salt on the pan before you throw your egg in, and it's supposed to keep it from sticking.
Really?
Yeah. That's how I do it every time I cook for my nephews.
I have to try that. What I do for eggs is We're about to have an egg episode, but
No, we're not.
uh, when I stick the eggs in, I'll sprinkle some water in and then I'll cover it because it'll generate some steam
Mhm.
and that'll cook the other side of the egg. That's what I do. So,
Why, you don't know how to flip it without breaking the yolk?
you know, I'm about 75% of that.
Yeah.
I hate it when you flip it over. You're like, yes, I got it, and then you
Mhm.
just start seeing it slowly
Yes.
ooze out. And you're like, great,
So,
all
no,
right. I'm having scrambled eggs this morning.
normally what I'll do is like, you know how there's kind of oil on the sides? I'll kind of like push the oil to the top of the egg so it kind of cooks it.
Yes, you can
And
do
then that
too.
way, when you flip it over, it normally doesn't.
Oh, so you
Mhm.
kind of like cook
The
part
top.
of the layer.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. You don't even need eggs, and here you are.
Yeah, I
teaching me.
know. I cook eggs for everybody else, not really for me. I mean, every once in a
Excuse
while,
me.
I will have to have eggs because I need the protein. So I just gotta make sure it's like really hard boiled
Right. You
and
know,
put it in
and
salad.
when it comes to boiled eggs, that is the trick.
Hmm.
You definitely have to learn that patience because if you don't wait for the pot to actually boil,
Hmm.
your eggs will stick to the shell.
Oh, see, didn't know that. But
Yeah.
I never do put it in there before it boils anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
So make sure it's fully boiled. If you do exactly 12 minutes, you get
Hmm.
soft boiled.
Oh, yeah, no.
So that's the other thing too, like keeping track of time.
Nope.
All right. What
Okay.
do you have next?
My next one is learn about substitution. So, like, let's say
Oh,
you don't
okay. I
have,
brought that up earlier too.
yeah, so if you don't have one ingredient, try
Mm-hmm.
to think of something that kind of tastes like that and see if it's
Mm.
going to work.
Like what?
You know, like sometimes if it calls for vinegar,
Hmm.
some people will use lemon instead of vinegar.
I could see that. Yeah.
Because I've had a friend who was making adobo and she didn't have vinegar. She goes, go get some lemon. I'm like, you cannot make adobo with lemon. And it worked.
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, it would technically be a different dish, but it should work
But no, it still tasted like
because
adobo.
you think of vinegar. Vinegar is an acid,
Yes.
acetic acid, and lemon is what, citric acid.
It's still an acid.
It's an acid, so it would perform the same function of dissolving your mouth.
Yes. and then like even with your creams, sometimes they'll ask for milk. You can put like heavy cream, or you can do half and half.
If you have never substituted milk for heavy cream, you need to do it. That is amazing.
It is, and like that, the consistency may be different, but
Yes.
it also gives it sometimes a more flavorful taste. You know,
How would you describe heavy cream for those who aren't familiar with it?
heavy cream, it looks like milk. It just seems a little bit thicker,
Mm-hmm.
and so especially if you put it in pastries or anything like that, then
Yeah.
it kind of makes it more. I don't know. It just has more of a cream flavor than a milk flavor.
Right. From looking at it, it looks like it's just pure milk fat because
Probably.
there's no protein. So
Mhm.
they took out I guess, the whey,
Okay.
and there's no sugar in it either.
Oh,
So if you're
really?
low carb,
Hmm.
heavy cream is your go-to.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, there's no sugar in it. So that only, I mean, in milk, it's just protein, sugar, and fat. It is just pure milk fat.
Hmm.
So that's why, and that I didn't have that on my list. But if you want food to taste good, add fat to it.
Yeah, but that's not good for your cholesterol.
Yeah, but there's a price for everything.
That's true. That's
In
true.
moderation.
Yeah. Okay, that's mine. What's your next one?
Let's see. My next one is, and I brought this up earlier, cook by instinct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'd already kind of discussed that before, but maybe when you're starting out, yeah, really follow the recipes until you really get a handle of it. Because when you think about cooking, it's just okay. Let's add, for the most part, let's add heat to this so that it's edible. Like some vegetables, they soften up when you heat them. Of course, with meat, you want to be able to kill
Make sure it's
the bacteria. Some meat you can eat raw, some you can't. But I guess for the sake of today, fully cook your meat for safety because I don't want to be responsible if you get some kind of virus. But yeah, just try to learn to cook by instinct over time because you can get creative.
Yes.
When you're lacking an ingredient, you would think right away like, well, I can substitute this, still have a meal. I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have any mozzarella cheese and I had to make pizza. We had Swiss cheese.
Oh, you use Swiss cheese on
I use
pizza?
Swiss cheese. It was awful. So
well, because Swiss has a different flavor than mozzarella.
Yeah,
you know?
So cooking by instinct, it can work. It can get you out of a bind, but it doesn't always work.
See, now you're making me think because now I'm thinking provolone might actually work. Because provolone doesn't have
I could see that.
a strong
Yes.
taste like Swiss cheese has.
Right. Actually, it depends on the provolone.
Yeah.
If you go to a deli and you get, I guess, legit
Yeah, no,
provolone, it smells very sour.
I just get the store-bought provolone.
Yeah, that's the one I get too. I like my fake provolone.
I use that on my sandwiches. I don't like the other cheeses on my sandwich.
All
But
right.
going with that, doing your instinct.
Mhm.
So I love. I used to go to places where you had the shrimp in a bag that had the southern seasoning, and I never knew what they put in there.
Right.
So I just looked at it and I was like, okay, here, let me try different things. I know there's butter in there, so I made my own. And I put with butter and then like garlic and then different types of seasoning.
Right.
And I served it to my nephews. I'm like, oh, Auntie, that's pretty good. So I just created like my own sauce for the boil.
Yes.
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 And I'm like, oh, and that's the thing is you're looking at it. So it's kind of orange. So I was like, okay, well, I got to put paprika because that's kind of like the color.
Make it red.
Yeah. And so I was just throwing things here and there, and I'm like, oh,
you're brave, because if I were to experiment with a food, I wouldn't serve others. I'd be like, let me try this first.
I know. When I used to live in California, my nephews were my guinea pigs. Now I eat it by myself. I do, but if it is really good, then sometimes I'll bring it to work because I can't eat it all by myself, and I'll bring it to work. And my coworkers love everything I brought so far. So
what you got next on your list?
My next one is be daring.
Be daring.
Yes. Okay. Like I said, you can't always be on the safe side, because like if you keep making the same dishes over and over again, it's just not, you'll get sick and tired of it. At least if you're daring and try something different, like try escargots every once in a while, then maybe, when you go to, let's say, even if you go out to eat, if you go to a restaurant, at least you could try different things as opposed to just ordering the same thing over and over and over.
Right. And I've actually heard that, like, because your body's trying to get all the nutrients that it needs. But if you eat one type of food, like, your body will get to treating it like, I don't know, like it wants to reject it. Like if you just ate like steak every day, you would actually develop a distaste for it, because the body's like, okay, great, you're giving me all the protein I need, but I need other stuff too.
Stuff, yeah.
And you actually feel like you might get sick of it. So that's where that being daring comes from. You need to teach my son to be daring so he can get away from chicken fingers and peas and carrots.
Because even if you're just like baking something, let's say you're baking brownies, don't just make plain brownies, try to put nuts in it or try other things that you can put in there.
Try this for daring. Me and my sister, when we were kids, when we figured out how to make lumpia. Okay. You know where this is going.
No.
We made like, what do we make? Peanut butter and jelly lumpia.
Huh.
That one was okay. We made cheese lumpia.
Okay.
That was good.
I do Nutella.
Nutella lumpia.
Okay, no meat in there. It's like I'll put like Nutella and then like maybe apples, and then you wrap it in the lumpia wrapper and fry it that way. Oh my gosh.
It'd be good.
Actually, anything with Nutella is
it's like an empanada.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Next on my list is, this is a big one. Learn sanitation. That was one of the big things that I learned at my job. Okay. Is to make sure that you keep your work area clean, you sanitize it, especially, most importantly, right before you can repair. Make sure everything is wiped down, sanitized, you kill the germs. So, and when we wash dishes, you would wash the dishes with soap and water, and then we would have a bleach water solution. It's like a bucket of water and then like a few drops of bleach, and that would actually, and then we would wipe down the dishes to sanitize them. I don't know if you necessarily have to go that far, because a lot of like soaps nowadays are antibacterial anyways. Okay. But one thing I also want to bring up is cross-contamination. So it was a sandwich shop. So like we would have like ham and turkey, and we were taught don't ever mix the two, because ham might have its own bacteria, turkey would have its own. If you put them together, you're going to start, one might jump to the other, and who knows what it's going to do. Now, of course, right before you're going to eat it, you can combine these ingredients, but try to keep your ingredients separate.
Well, going along with the cross-contamination, I make sure I have different cutting boards. I have cutting boards just for fruits and vegetables, and then I have one for the meats. And then that way, in case, the germ stays one on the meats, it's not going to go into your
Now, if they were all going into the same pot, I've cut vegetables on the cutting board that
I will not. I will not. I will have 2 or 3 different cutting boards. And I have it colored. So
But
like
you just told me to be daring.
I know, but not daring where you're gonna get sick. So I have a blue cutting board that I use for all my meats, and then I have a white cutting board that I use for all my fruits and veggies.
Yeah.
And so for when it's just me, it's great. But when people come to the house and like try to start cooking, I'm like, don't cut that there, don't cut that there, because it's for me. And I get that you wash it and everything, but you don't know what sticks around.
Right.
So I like to keep my meats separate from my veggies.
What do you got last on your list? I think we're at last.
My
Right?
last one is sometimes it takes a few times to cook it before you can actually perfect it. No, seriously.
Yes.
So there's this Filipino dish. It's called ukoy, which is a vegetable fritter. So it's
Mhm.
just a bunch of vegetables that you put together and you kind of have a batter to it and then
Yeah.
you fry it. And so I would always eat it. People would bring it and I would eat it. And it was good, but I never knew how to make it. So I had tried a few times because sometimes it would be too soggy and it doesn't taste that good if it's soggy because it's really crunchy. And then I tried different types of vegetables and everything. And I cooked it straight out. I'm not kidding, every single day for like 5 days. And then
I've done that
finally,
too.
I was like, oh, see, this is it. These are the veggies I want in there. This is the consistency of the batter.
Yes.
And so it turned out good every single time. So, sometimes it takes a few tries.
Right.
So if you like it, don't just quit on your first try. Just keep trying until you get it to the point where, yes, this is it.
So eventually I'll get adobo right. But what I have last is get cast iron.
Why?
Cast iron is durable, especially if you like to cook meat. I'll say
Okay.
that. Get cast iron. It has even heating, although it does take a little longer to heat up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, heavy piece of iron, but it lasts forever. You can actually make them nonstick. If
Okay.
you it's called seasoning. So you
Yes.
basically bake on the fat into
Mm-hmm.
it, and if you cook like bacon, then you're kind of seasoning as you go along. But
Mm-hmm.
just from how durable cast iron can be, and I know if you do Teflon, you have that risk of getting like Teflon chips in your food.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my last one.
But
Get
with the cast iron, don't you have to like you can't like once you're done with it, you can't just store it. Don't you have to treat it somehow so that it doesn't rust or anything like that?
Even if it does rust, I would not be afraid of that because you could just wipe off that rust and reseason it. I mean, you could just that's the
And
durability
when you're
part
saying
of it.
reseason it, this is like the oil treatment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And typically because it's coated in oil, that keeps
Mm-hmm.
it from rusting.
Yeah.
And people say like don't wash it. You can wash it. You're not going to destroy cast iron.
But yeah, because I remember when we were kids, we had one, and those things are heavy, first of all.
Yes.
But I do remember having it, and I remember like I would see them putting oil on it before they put it away.
Yes.
So, and I'm like, didn't you just clean it? Why are you putting oil back on it?
We'll be daring. When you heat it up, it'll kill anything that's there. But we'll go ahead and close out with our comments since we're getting close to time. We are joined by Teresa from Kissimmee, from Florida.
Oh,
Thank you
nice.
for joining. And then we also have Robert greeting us from North Hollywood. And we also have Julie Grace Jackson giving us a bunch of heart emojis.
Uh-huh.
We have our Robert Tapales, who was on before us
Yes.
in Florida, greeting us. I used to live in Florida, actually. So.
Nice.
We also have Teresa Murrith greeting Brother Robert on air, who's in Kissimmee. Yeah, they're kind of talking back and forth to each other. So yeah, comment section taken over by Florida. So thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you.
So that brings us to the end of today's show. So if you took away anything from today, it seems like we should be daring with the food, but definitely get into cooking.
Yes.
Cooking is a very valuable skill, especially if you're young and single. It's a very appealing.
That is so true.
If you know how to cook,
Exactly.
you can take care of your family too, because you're not going to be reliant on unhealthy like microwave dishes and whatnot.
And for me, cooking is more therapeutic.
Mm-hmm,
so even though I'm tired, I don't know. I know lots of people have kitchen gadgets that will slice their vegetables and all that for them to make it faster. But I don't know. I find it therapeutic, like just cutting the vegetables and then cooking it and putting it together and then enjoying the meal after. So,
although you do have to try pre-sliced vegetables, that it can be nice.
I have on some of them, but depending on what you're cooking, sometimes it has to be cut a certain way. So the pre-cut stool sometimes doesn't work.
Right.
And I remember growing up, well, that was one of the things my mom taught us. Well, if you're going to cut it this way, they all have to be cut that way, so that it's consistent. But yeah.
We're gonna have another show on this actually. We're gonna be cookcast.
Or we could actually cook something while we're giving tips.
There we go.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right. So I'd like to thank our district CFO coordinator, overseer, Brother Christian Agron, our assistant district minister, Brother Gilbert Anchete, our district minister, Brother Andre B. Silva, and our CFO coordinator and SEBC president, Brother Angelo Rano V. Manalo, and of course our executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Be sure to tune in to INC Radio South Central States next week at the same time, bright and early in the morning. We need to do a coffee episode. But stay tuned to INC Radio New Jersey coming up next. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. See you guys next week.